to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. I wanted to do a post today, a video today, about taking anxiety for the ride and how that looked for me. So I found the concept of sitting with it extremely difficult, as we all do when suffering with OCD. And I also misinterpreted what sitting with it actually meant. So for a long time after I started my journey, I thought of sitting with it as not doing anything whilst it was coming in, you know, just like letting the anxiety be there, which yes, great, but also just kind of stopping what I was doing and going, okay, right, I have to like concentrate on the anxiety and really like let myself stew in it, which is not what sitting with it means. Sitting with it means continuing your day as you would whether it was there or not. So over time, so when I was really, really bad with health anxiety, and I immediately, as soon as like I started feeling bad with that, I immediately went into doing absolutely nothing. Like I wasn't going to work, I wasn't going out anywhere, I wouldn't even go to the shop. I remember I went for an eye test because I thought I had a brain tumour, and I was having panic attacks the entire way there. I had to keep, didn't have to, but I had my mum driving me and I kept lying down and because I felt like I had to lay down to have a panic attack because I didn't feel like I could breathe properly if I was sat. I don't know. It was a big mess. It was a very big mess. Funnily enough, actually, I know I'm going off topic here, but I think it's a good time to mention. I had an eye test yesterday, which means it was 2 years since that eye test. And I went in and I remember looking at the staff in there and thinking, I wonder if they remember me, because it must have been an interesting one for them, because I was just in there having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. And I was like shaking, I was sweating. I was saying to them, no, there's something wrong. Like you need to check me. There's really something wrong in my brain. And I went in yesterday just so casually, and I kept thinking while I was sat in there, like, this is just so different. Like, it's just amazing that you think of like all the good things you're going to be able to do when you're feeling better. But for me, it's actually things like that really show the difference. Is things like going for an eye test and not feeling like extreme anxiety, not panicking that there's anything in my, you know, when they were showing me the picture saying, oh, you know, this is your eye, I wasn't there looking, you know, thinking that I would somehow know better than the optician, and that there must be something wrong and that they would miss something. I was, you know, not last time I was there, but when I was there 2 years ago, I was kind of pointing to the picture and going, oh, but what's this bit? What's this bit? Whereas yesterday I was sat there going, okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're trying to show me. So just, yeah, fine. And yeah, it was amazing. It was an incredible difference. But going back to what I'm actually trying to talk about is I thought that sitting with the anxiety basically meant allowing it to be there, but just sitting with it. It doesn't mean physically sitting. It doesn't mean sitting there and going, right, I need to experience all of this, so I'm just going to do absolutely nothing and just sit and think about the thoughts, you know, because that's really engaging. And a lot of the time when you then go into engaging, you start analysing. And obviously there's always going to be an element of rumination that's automatic, but analysing we can kind of bring back a little bit by not sitting there and engaging all the time. And you know, if you, like me, think that sitting with it means sitting and actually thinking about it, then you are probably going to engage. So I really, really had to start doing what I had been doing before I felt the way I did, and before I'd started going back into compulsions and avoidance behaviours, and just do all of that with anxiety present. So a big one for me was going back to work, and I would sit there and I was saying this to my mum the other day because we were talking about another family member who's struggling at the moment, and I said that I became like the master of the silent panic attack. So I would be sat at my desk and I would just be having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack, and no one knew. Like, no one, like they probably all realized I was quite quiet for a period. You know, it was a good few months that I went through that relapse where I was at work, I wasn't really eating, I wasn't really speaking much, and for me, who's a very loud person, it probably was quite noticeable that I was a lot different. But I definitely don't think they would have guessed that I was extremely anxious and having constant panic attacks. Like, I think I actually managed to cover that pretty well. And it took a long time of doing that. You know, I was going into work, I would say for a good 3-4 months every day, and just having like consistent panic attacks, not being able to eat, but still just sitting at my desk looking like absolutely nothing was wrong. You know, in that time I got a promotion, I did loads of like extra things in work to try and like get ahead of it, and I was doing all this stuff, but inside I was just completely locked up in my own brain. Like, I felt so anxious, but it was just like everyone around me was completely oblivious to it. And I think we think that when we're feeling anxious, there's like this big neon sign on us saying this person's really anxious, and it's not like that at all. It's actually like a lot less noticeable than we think it is. Like, for loved ones, I think it's easier for them to notice because they're so used to the way you are. But with my work colleagues, who I'm quite close to, I would just say to them, you know, I'm just feeling a bit tired, or because if I went into it, it would become a professional thing, it would become a reassurance seeking thing, and I didn't want work to become a place where everyone was kind of questioning if I was okay all the time. And you know, I had that enough with my family at the time, having to be concerned about me. I didn't want that in work as well, and for it to become a, you know, constantly asking me if I was okay and things like that. So I would just say, you know, if it was particularly noticeable one day, I would just say, you know, I'm just feeling a bit tired today. So really carrying on with everything that I was doing was majorly important for me, because if I had just sat and thought about it, or just even sat and tried to distract myself, but not been engaging in the real world, I don't think I would have made the progress that I have, because I think it's really hard for you to get out of your head when you're not like with other people doing other things. Like, I remember being in work, I would sometimes think like, oh my God, I've just gone 5 minutes without thinking about OCD, like 5 whole minutes. Or I would laugh at something, and then I would catch myself and I would be like, wow, that was actually a really like genuine, like I found that funny. I actually really enjoyed that joke and I found that funny. And that just felt so alien at the time, because it was just such a struggle. Like, doing anything was a struggle. I was barely sleeping because I kept thinking I was going to die in my sleep and my daughter was going to find me. And I slept a bit better when I was at my mum's house, because I thought that at least, not that it would be nice my mum finding me dead, of course, but at least it wouldn't be my daughter. So I slept a bit better at my mum's house, but eventually I had to leave there as well. I only ended up staying there while going through this relapse. I only stayed there for about a total of a week. And then Nick made me go home. He said, you're not going to recover on your mum's sofa. And it was very true. And it was really, really hard. But again, it was that sitting but not sitting, of just engaging and doing everything as I had been before. And I had to go to my house, and I had to risk falling asleep every night and possibly not waking up, and maybe my daughter would find me. And I had to become not happy with those things, but accepting of those things, become comfortable with the idea of those things happening and my worst case scenarios coming true. And it was only when I started realizing that just because these things could happen, it didn't mean I needed to live as though they were going to. Yes, they could happen, and I don't want them to happen, but I can't stop them. There is such uncertainty with life, and accepting that, again, not agreeing with that. You don't have to be happy about any of these things. No one's ever saying you're going to be happy about the idea of dying in your sleep when you're in your 20s, that you're not going to be. But accepting that has happened to people and it could happen to you, and just working through that worst case scenario. So with me, it was, you know, my daughter not having a mum, and, you know, what would happen and if she did find me, that would scar her for life and it would ruin her life. And it was just looking at, whilst that would have a massive impact on her and probably make her life a lot harder than it would be if that hadn't happened. You know, I know people that have lost their parents at a young age. I know people that have seen horrific things at a young age, but that doesn't mean to say that writes off their entire life. Yes, it makes it harder, but they still have a life in the same way that OCD makes our lives harder, but it's what we make of it. We still have a life even with having OCD. Yeah, I hope that has helped you, and feel free to pop a comment below with any videos that you'd like me to cover. Thank you.